Welcome.
Thank you, Carmen. Thank you, everybody, for being here, and also thank you for people that are following this panel, this event through internet. It's a pleasure to having you here, guys. It's an honor to have you here and discuss regarding something that probably is in the agenda of all of us, but definitely something that we have to increase our level of activities on that arena, which is the international cooperation. Clearly, something that I think that is more valuable than ever now. We are looking in the market and we are seeing for technology, for the use of technology and the depth technologies, the frontier technologies over the cybercrime and cyber incidents. And that's is guiding us to this, let me say, to increase this cooperation in order to make sure that we are covering all the bases on that part. So again, thank you for being here. I would like to ask you a general question to all of you regarding this matter, and it's, I mean, it's important to understand how you are facing this international cooperation. I know in the case that for example, in Chile, they are starting now with the new agency. Probably the international cooperation is going to be something important in the coming days, in the coming months. We are honored to be the first institution that signed an international agreement with the agency 2 months ago, on July. But I would like to give you some minutes to explain the importance and the way that you address this international cooperation. So we are going to start from my colleague Luca from Italy. Luca, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Miguel. And first of all, thank you very much for the invitation and for organizing this wonderful event here in Leon. As I was introduced, I am head of Industrial, Technological and Research Programs at the National Cybersecurity Agency. The National Agency in Italy is a newborn, it's a startup, it's a newborn organization. We started our activities in 2022, and we had the opportunity to shape the agency, having analyzed what was happening all around the world. And one of the first and most important things that we understood is that we needed a strong capability to cooperate all over the world with other agencies and with other organizations in the cybersecurity field. We live in a global world, and the cyberspace is, by definition, global. There are no borders, and it's impossible to remain inside a single member state, even a single continent. So we created inside the agency 2 departments. One is specifically devoted to international relationships and is led by an ambassador. And the other one is my department that is very open to the outside world for what is about everything that relates to collaboration. I am inside the European Cybersecurity Governing Board together with you, by the way. I am a member of the I board. I am a member of the CRA initiative. The CRA initiative is a huge initiative that has been started in 2022 by the US and that encompasses up to now more than 180 countries. And the meeting will be next week in Singapore for the annual meeting for this organization. We are inside the transatlantic quantum community from the NATO. So this is to say that we are inside all of the main fora on which we discuss about the cybersecurity stuff. And what we have understood in these years is that cooperation is absolutely the first thing that we need to achieve because the threats are global, are the same for everyone. Here we have a colleague from Ucrania, and they know very, very well what this means. But once again, today I had another meeting with another Miguel from Moldova, and they told us about all what was happening during their elections 1 month ago. So this is something that we need to do together. This is something on which cooperation is fundamental. We have an agreement also, our agency with yours, and we are happy if we can begin cooperating with all of the other agencies all around the world. So that's it from my side, and once again, thank you for inviting me today.
No, grazie mille Luca, è un piacere sempre avere qui in la Spagna. You know that I have to say something in Italian when I told you. This is something.
Unfortunately, I cannot do that in Spanish,
exactly,
but I will study.
Exactly. No, thank you so much. Michel, you're going to be down a road, a very important road in the last years. Chile is clearly one of the, if not the best, the most important governance model in Latin American region. I think you have been doing an extraordinary job, work with all this legislation process, very important process, and now you launched this agency that is handling a lot of incidents. We have the opportunity to hear directly from the director here in July the path that you are describing for the coming months. And again, it was a common comment on that event, the great job that you have been doing. So, but again, regarding the international cooperation, in your case, in this road, in this path, how important is for you? What are the main challenges that you are seeing, and how you think that probably not only, I mean, obviously in the Latin American region, but also in other regions, how can this international organization can play an important role for you?
Oh, okay, so I'll be reading a little because my English is not my
You can
Okay.
puedes hablar en español porque hay traducción.
Okay, but no worries.
Perfect,
So.
as you prefer.
Okay, so this question can be approached from different angles. So to give a few examples, from cooperation in prosecution of cybercrime, to the application of international law to cyberspace, or to international cooperation on capacity building and threat information sharing. I think this last point is the key for us in the National Cybersecurity Agency called ANSI. So regarding cybercrime prosecution, Chile has made a political decision that this area falls outside the scope of our ANSI. Our role is prevention, not criminal investigation, which is led by Cybercrime Unit and Public Prosecutor's Office. So still, very briefly, I can note that in this area, the main challenge for countries is to reaching agreement on applicable international framework, especially as they become more specific, for example, under Budapest Convention or alternative convention promoted by the United Nations. The conditions for collaboration may vary, and not all countries agree in these conditions. So this is the main challenge in that field, but as is a matter of international relation, state international relation, final decision rests with our Minister for Affairs. Concerning how international law applies to cyberspace, there is broad consensus that it does apply. For example, rules of attribution, responsible state behavior, self-defense, prohibition of the use of force, but there's no consensus on how to apply them. For instance, can a cyber attack that paralyzes all the hospital in a country be equated to an armed attack and then lead to legitimate defense? So there's no agreement in that. So one important initiative today, promoted mainly by UNIDIR and the Organization of the American States, it's to encourage countries to adopt and publish national position on how they interpret the application of international law in cyberspace, because they think that this transparency can help to increase predictability and then avoid escalation of conflicts. But finally, and most importantly for us, the National Cybersecurity Agency, is international cooperation in capacity building and threat information sharing. Most countries face similar internal challenges like limited resources, talent retention, the creation of binding regulations, and defining how national authorities should interact with other public enforcement bodies. So cooperation in this field is vital, and the real challenge lies in how operationalizing it. So because we sign many agreements, but sometimes they are never implemented. So how can we implement these agreements that we sign in paper? And another difficulty involves trust and a strategic alliance. So how many MYUs can we sign without losing the confidence of other partners? And what happens if at some point we start collaborating with one country, but later, for political reasons, develops tense relations with us or with some of our key allies? So I think that will be my takes on this question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you. Very, very interesting approach. I think that's this, let me say that cyber diplomacy sphere that you touch is great. We have a lot of room to improve in that arena, and the capacity building definitely is something that is an ongoing process that we are going to be handling eternally, let me say that way, because there is something always to learn about that. And it's important to make sure that we create the capabilities, private and public sector, to address that. So thank you so much. Now I'm going to give the floor to Yevhen Bryksin. He came from Ukraine, from the Agency. We signed also an agreement with them, I think 3 years ago, 3 years ago, with the NCC-ITA. And I want to especially thank you to be here. For obvious reasons, I think that everybody's really proud of the frontier essence of liberty that you are working on, and we are been collaborating for a long time. We are supporting your activities. We are supporting and working with you in training with the team. So it's an honor to having all you here. But you probably understand that in the case of a representative from Ukraine, it's something very special for us. So thank you, especially for being here. So I give you the floor to address this comment that this international cooperation we are talking about.
Thank you for warm words. It's an honor for me to be here on this stage. And if we talk about international cooperation, it's a good question how to implement all this agreement. And I want to talk about one point of implementation. This is threat intelligence information exchange. And exchange about threat intelligence. And one of the biggest challenge for us was to implement this information exchange challenge with partners, but not to exchange all information that we have, any-to-any information, but to exchange specific information about the specific threat that are interested to both parties of the information exchange. And in our situation, we have, from one side, the situation when the cyberspace and cyber operation is a part of the full-scale warfare. And on the one side, we have a lot of information about the threat actors from different countries, like presented on this screen. And on other side, we had implemented a lot of information exchange channels with countries from European Union, from commercial sector, and from other countries, our partners, about the threats. Yes, and for us, it was a challenge to have a lot of information on our side, have a lot of information from partners, to filtering this information and to create clever data, good data that we can send and that we want to receive, to share it with clients. So where the SSSCIP is the main body in Ukraine, which is responsible for technical cybersecurity services and for the cybersecurity policy implementation of Ukraine. And one of our goals is to share this TI data to the government and critical infrastructure. And of course, when you receive this data, what is the purpose of the exchange of information? You want to enrich information that you have and then share it with the clients to early detect the threat activity, yes, and prevent the realization of the cyber operation goals. So we create our own national attributions that is understandable for us and understandable for our international partners. So for this attribution, we can determine the different groups that acting against the Ukrainian cyberspace, determine what the goals of this group, their TTPs, and we can understand when we receive information for partners that this specific group that we're tracking also targeting the partners cyberspace. And the result of these things that we can improve the exchange process with the partners, for example, where we talk about the specific actors, we understand, for example, that fine crime actors, the targeting specific sectors, finance sectors of Ukraine, there's not very interesting for the partners. But the espionage actors, the targeting the EU countries, they like the same groups from state-sponsored, state-sponsored countries. And with this attribution, we can determine that, for example, this activity is will be useful for our partners from NATO, from our partners for EU. And we know we have a set of information that we send to the partners and receive from them to enrich, by default, by the naming of the sectors. So yes, this is our one of our main challenge was to establish good channels of exchange threat intelligence information.
No, really interesting. Really interesting. Thank you so much. I think something that I highlight something that is struck for you for your presentation, and is probably you are now the most important military force in European context. This is the obvious, and the reason is so obvious. But I think that probably you are, and we know that you are learning a lot in development on dual-use capabilities because the situation that you are facing as a frontier of the rest of Europe. So definitely there's something in the way that you are addressing this international cooperation that has to be allowed with the way that you are now addressing the problem that you are solving in the country. So thank you again. Thank you for being here. Finally, I would like to give the floor to Mihai Lupascu. He's director of the Agency of Moldova. This morning we had the opportunity to hear a little bit about the process and the situation that you are currently facing in the country. And probably in the case that you were talking about, the international aspect is very crucial. So thank you for being here, and please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Miguel, and thank you very much, INCIBE, for having us here today. It's my great honor. It's the first time I'm present in Spain, and I believe this, starting from the topic of this panel, it could pave the way for our closer cooperation between our institutions in the future. So first of all, to give you some context, Moldova is a very it's a small country, and also we started to implement or to readjust the cybersecurity landscape just recently. So only 2 years ago, we adopted the new cybersecurity law that implements the NIS2 directive. So now we're following this European legal framework on cybersecurity, and of course this comes with a lot of challenges. And in this situation, the cooperation is not just an option, but it's a must for us, because in our case, we realized we started very late in this process. And we need to catch up with a lot of progress that have been done by other European countries, following the NIS1, following other formats and policies that are being used, deployed across European Union. And by having a close cooperation with European Union bodies, ENISA, ECCC, European Partnership Mission, but also it helps a lot to have this dialogue with the neighbors and the European member states at the bilateral level in order to learn from their best practices. Because one big advantage we have in this situation, we are trying to, I'm a positive person, I'm trying to see the good aspects in every situation. Some would say like, indeed, we started very late. My agency was established formally only 1.5 years ago. So you can imagine there's a lot of, on one side, there's a lot of pressure when it comes to the challenges and the solutions that we need to provide for the critical infrastructure. Also, when it comes to the alignment with the European Union legislation, because it's on the agenda, top priority agenda of the government, and also be able to, let's say, implement all this framework. And the good part in this regard is that we can learn from other countries, from our partners, about the best practices on one hand, and also we can learn about, let's say, natural mistakes that are to be made or it would naturally happen. And by trying to learn from this experience, it helps us to at least avoid at least partially some of the mistakes along the way. So learning from the experience of different countries, and we went to analyze before implementing the cybersecurity law. In our case, the agency is being managed and founded under the Ministry of Economic Development and Digitalization in Moldova, under the pillar of digital transformation. We also have cybersecurity here. And we realized when analyzing the different experiences across Europe, there's no one single way or one single method of doing cybersecurity. We saw the different approaches, such as cybersecurity being managed either under the Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Interior, under the Prime Minister's office, under the Minister of Justice. So there are so many approaches. And what was very important for us in this cooperation is to try to see different models and understand why they work, because there are some particular reasons why a country or the other is choosing a model. And by doing so, it helps us a lot when it comes to making strategic decisions, because we can see what worked in a particular country, especially countries that are very similar to ours. So in this regard, we can replicate the model and advance at a faster pace. As my colleagues previously said, it's very difficult now to add something of value after the interventions of my colleagues in the panel, but just to stress out the importance of cooperation. And I want to refer to Luca here when he mentioned like internet and cybersecurity. Digital world has no borders, so we cannot do it by ourselves. It's virtually impossible, and we cannot just isolate ourselves and think we are safe and protected. The only way forward is to cooperate and have a very deep cooperation at not just at the, let's say, political or the foreign affairs level, but we need to have a strong cooperation at the operational level, because those are the people who see or who can detect the threats, and they need to know, and the threats are cross-border. What we saw during the presidential campaign, I mentioned during the parliamentary campaign last month, most of the activities and the attacks are being conducted using proxy countries. And it doesn't mean that that country in particular is attacking us, is that the malicious actors are using proxy countries or jurisdictions where we don't have easy access to generate attacks, and they might use our own networks to attack the other countries. So by having a strong cooperation between the European Union, at least the neighbors, it can empower us to have a faster and a more coordinated response to these transborder threats.
Yeah, thank you so much. You mentioned something that it's true, it's absolutely true. The borders, and also Luca highlighted that, the borders of internet doesn't exist. I mean, there's no border of internet. We also used to work with this concept of cybersecurity perimeter. For us, it's obvious that Latin America is a region that we have to work a lot with them. We have a lot of interests, economics, cultural, over there. But also we are working in the Mediterranean region. We have an agreement recently with the Arab League. I think definitely we need to work a lot in this North Africa and also Middle East region. We had agreement also with some countries of this Middle East region. A couple of weeks ago, we were there in Riyadh during this conference that they are doing, and again, the international cooperation was something that was really present on all the debates, all the tables, on all the panels. And of course, Asia is something that we are starting to work with them. We have agreement with Japan, and we are working also, actually yesterday we signed an agreement with the Agency of South Korea, because it's important for us to have this cybersecurity perimeter much more clear. But let me tell you something that probably, you said that you have a lot of pressure because you need to prioritize a lot of things with this young agency. Probably Luca and the rest of my colleagues can tell you that this pressure will be, when you don't be a young agency, this pressure will be a part of the business for a long, long time. But it's important to prioritize because there are a lot of things on the plate and we have to choose the right battles in the right moment. But again, thank you so much. I would like now to jump for direct question for all you. I'm going to change a little bit the order, not the question, but the order of the presentation. So I'm going to go with Chile again, with Michelle. You were mentioned the importance of the international cooperation and the trust with other countries. Definitely in the region is something that is very important. You are a big player. You are probably the most important player in the region, Latin America. So could you share with us some example of how the Agencia Nacional Chilena is building this international cooperation and this trust with other countries, other partners?
Okay, so the most traditional mechanism, of course, is the Memorandum of Understanding with other national cybersecurity agencies, because in that way we can do it like directly and not going through a whole process with our foreign affairs minister. And so this agreement allows cooperation on issues like sharing information and building capacities. That is key for us. And but today, I would like to highlight in particular a more ambitious and transformative example of cooperation. It's our cybersecurity capacity building project, which we are implementing with the support from the European Union. So the project assists 12 Latin American and Caribbean countries in developing and strengthening their national cybersecurity policies and promoting clear governance structures and coordination mechanisms. So its value goes beyond institutional design. It builds network of trust among countries, CSIRT regulators. It also facilitates information sharing on global threats. But above all, it seeks to help reduce asymmetries between countries, preventing the most vulnerable from becoming weak links used as attack platforms. And in essence, this project does more than transfer knowledge. It builds community trust and institutional resilience. Its greatest achievement, it's enabled Latin American and Caribbean countries to protect their digital ecosystem by developing their own regulatory frameworks within their own realities, while learning about different models and possible options, as well as knowing about trials and errors and lessons learned from other countries. But it helped them to build their own regulatory system with their own context. So we are not pushing them to follow our model. That our model is really similar to the one of the European Union. And this project includes several multi-day in-person sessions, as well as online meetings and written deliverables. But the in-person gatherings are by far the most important, because spending several days face-to-face with people allows for building trust-based relationships. And everyone that works in these fields know that in times of crisis, when you are under a cyber attack, the most effective help becomes always through unofficial channels triggered by like friendship or closeness, but not through formal channels, because that's too much bureaucracy. And that's why we think that this is a strong argument for highly technical, depoliticized security agencies, so capable for maintaining cooperation even amid political turbulence.
And you did an extraordinary job in this depoliticization when you passed the laws and in the Congress, and all the job that you are doing, with including all the parties, all the sensibilities. So this is something that is not common in the current terms. So it's something that it's important to highlight the efforts doing that. Definitely something very, very important that you are being reaching and you are being achieving. I'll go back to Ukraine again and then go back to Italy. But in the case of Ukraine, Yevhen, given the current geopolitical context in Ukraine, how crucial is the international cooperation, specifically on cybersecurity, on the country? Because the international cooperation for other matters is clearly an important thing now, but on cybersecurity, how do you think that's adding value to the process and the situation that you are living now?
It's very valuable for us. As I said, we receive a lot of help, first of all in the experience sharing and in the threat intelligence sharing. Also, we'll receive help from partners in the products, in the security products, because it was very important for us, and we have a lot of international programs that support the cybersecurity and cyber defense in Ukraine, and it helps us a lot. Especially at the beginning, of the full-scale invasion, where all organization, all kind of government, finance sector, all the sectors was a target of the cyber actors, and it's very important and useful for us. As for now, we're trying to improve this cooperation. We have a law in Ukraine that describes cybersecurity in Ukraine, and at the beginning of this year, we make some changes to this law, where we determine which organization can provide the international cooperation, and I think we add to this law the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, so they are responsible for the cyber diplomacy track. So we include to the law the cyber diplomacy track, and we describe which organization responsible, for example, for cyber diplomacy, for the top-level cooperation, for technical cooperation. We determine this level of cooperation for different cybersecurity stakeholders from Ukraine. How can they act? So we work in the way to improve the level of cooperation.
No, thank you.
And also maybe one example. So a few months ago we started the initiative to create the cyber alliance with Moldova and Romania to exchange the experience, information, and improve the cyber defense of 3 countries. This initiative only starts, and we will see how it will go. And maybe if it will be like a positive experience, we will increase this activity for other countries.
No, thank you so much. Really interesting. And you were talking about this initiative, this project, this transnational project. And Luca and Italy is leader. They are leading some very interesting initiative across the European Union. One of them related with CREA, with the Cybersecurity Act, the implementation for that, and they have a very strong leadership on that. Luca, you probably there are a lot of good answer for this question, but because I know that you see the importance of the international cooperation, but what do you think are the main benefits that you can see in Italy coming from this stronger and dear leadership that you have on the international cooperation within the European Union, but also, as you mentioned, the Syria is a good example, and international level?
Okay. Yes, you can hear me. First of all, I think that there is a point that we all of us we need to share, but I think that here on the stage we all share this point. We lack resources. We lack resources both in terms of money, of course, but in particular in terms of people, of experts that can manage this kind of things. So why is it so important to have a strong cooperation between different countries all around the world? Because we need to put the few resources that we have in the best condition to work at best, to be more effective as possible. And we can do that only if we coordinate ourselves, if we don't replicate, if we don't duplicate effort, okay? And how can I achieve this result? Being aligned, being cooperative, knowing exactly what the other countries are doing. You know, in Europe, we are putting in place this solidarity mechanism. There is this Cybersecurity Act that, from our perspective, is very, very important. And this mechanism envisages the need of involving the private sector in this big game. We cannot do anything as public administration. We need to involve the private sector. We need to involve experts coming also from not only from the public administration. And in order to do that, in a cross-border environment, we need to put in place standards. We need standard procedures. We need to be online on how we, for instance, which is the right process for vetting a company. How can I trust a private company for doing some kind of a very sensitive process during an incident or during the recovery from an incident? These kind of things are very, very important for our companies because there is another mechanism that we're putting in place not only at the European level but globally in the CRI for the ransomware, for managing ransomware, once again in a solidarity mechanism between different countries. Once again, how can I be sure that a company coming from, I don't know, from Australia has been properly certified for doing that kind of stuff? That's why it's so important to cooperate at the international level. It's not only a matter of, let me say, exchanging information. This is the first thing that comes to our mind, and it's obvious, it's absolutely fundamental, but it's not the only thing. We also need to cooperate in order to let our private sector to be effective and not to replicate, once again, efforts. I cannot ask different kinds of certifications in different countries. Both Italy and Spain and most other countries, they have international companies. I don't know. Yes, they have international companies. They work everywhere, and they need to have the same kind of requirements wherever they work. Okay, and we can do that only by cooperating in a very close way with our like-minded partners all over the world, wherever they are, not only Europe, but also outside Europe.
No, thank you so much. That's absolutely, we totally agree with that you mentioned. It's quite important. When you say we need more resources, probably the people in the audience from the Ministry of Finance, something like that, and they pay more attention for that. But it's absolutely true. We need more people. We are handling something that is growing and growing. With it's a market with 2-digit growth annually. The resource phase is growing, so it's definitely that we have to increase these resources to fight that reality, and also the private-public cooperation. That's absolutely crucial. We have been investing through different programs in the last 3 years, approximately 300 millions, working with universities, with the private sector, startups. So we are bringing to the table all of them in order to make sure that we can face the deep or frontier technologies threats that now we are facing. I'm going to go back to Mihai, to Moldova. Moldavia is in Spanish, sorry, Moldova. What are the main, what lesson has Moldova learned from managing hybrid and cyber threats in the recent years or months in the case of the agency? What do you think is the most important lesson learned of that process?
Before starting, does it?
I think it's working.
It work?
Yeah.
So before starting with the lesson learned and the conclusions from the, we held 2 elections on parliamentary last month and the presidential election last year. So it was a very challenging period the last year. So there are a lot of, I'm trying to give you the essence of this activity, but if I were to create a top of the most important lesson learned from this activity is that our enemies are very well organized and coordinated. We cannot discuss here about some sporadic cyber activity or interference here and there. It's very well planned in advance and very heavily financed activity with very clear politically motivated goals. So just to give you an example, throughout the last year and during both election campaigns, we were witnessing a lot of cybersecurity attacks, and it was ranging from simple, so to say, simple denial of service attacks that are managing to take down some services and public administration, to more complex ransomware, network infiltration, and so on. And all of these attacks were politically motivated because no single incident was linked to any financial incentive. There was no ask for any ransom to pay, and it was a clearly political motivated campaign that were trying to undermine the very processes of a democratic country. So we need to keep in mind that we're to be aware of the fact that cybersecurity and disinformation is being used by our enemies to undermine and hijack the democracies. And because today we talk about our case, we held election in Moldova, but this is a constant feature in the democracy. There are always elections, so we need to prepare to put in place mechanisms to defend our democracies against this kind of interference. And it seems it's having an ever-growing impact nowadays. Another important aspect here is the more and, let's say, a very heavy use of AI technology, especially generative AI technology that would be used to generate fake information, fake news that are being spread very fast across all platforms. And this is a challenge that we didn't have a couple of years ago. Now that we look at the capabilities of video and video generated by AI, it's mind-blowing, and it's so impressive how capable those technology are. And you can just imagine what impact can such content can have on the population if it's used to spread misinformation and fake news. And one last thing I want to mention here is oftentimes, and I'll give you one example. For example, there was a hack and leak at an institution in Moldova, and then right away it was it was taken over by some propaganda channels and tried to amplify the information. So the thing, what happened is that they made it was a completely made up story, like without any real basis. It was a fake news, but it was making reference to a real leak that happened. Mm-hmm. So by doing this, it somehow gives more credibility to those malicious actors. So if I were to conclude here and have a final thought, is that cybersecurity, when it comes to protecting democracies, cybersecurity cannot be regarded anymore as a standalone. It should be seen as a piece of a bigger puzzle, because they work hand in hand with disinformation and many other hybrid interference activities that have one goal of undermining the democratic processes and create distrust in the public administration.
Thank you so much. And you summarized finally this final part of your intervention. This helps, and this is part of the way that you summarize that. You've been mentioning a lot of things. We have less than 1 minute, so I'm going to give you the floor just 20 seconds to talk about the next steps, to talk about the priorities and the urgent matters that you see on the table. So I'm going to give you 20 seconds, if you can summarize in 20 seconds, starting, for example, by Luca, to say what do you think the urgent part, the urgent matters that we have, the priorities for the coming months, years, so, in 20 seconds.
In 20 seconds. From my point of view, priority number one are people, and we need more experts, we need more people capable of doing that. Second, trust between us. We are in different European networks, Cyclone, CSERT network, and so on and so forth. The cooperation is not yet the one that we should have.
Thank you so much, Luca. Michelle?
So to shift trust, of course, and also to manage to operationalize the agreements, the paper agreements, to make it real, like how. So to find ways to do that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I agree with my colleagues. Like, first of all, when we cooperate, we increase the number of technical specialists, yes, and people who work in these fields that can exchange, sharing their knowledge, and because of this, we will create a better decision. And also, I think good point about the improvement of international mechanism and policies for cooperation.
You summarized really well, but do you want to add something? You have
Three words.
People,
technology that would help these people to be efficient in their mission, and operational and technical cooperation.
Okay, thank you all of you. It's been a pleasure to having you here. For us, it's always a privilege to have this very important and expert opinion in the panel. I hope that all of you enjoy, and the people that are watching us through internet. My colleague Carmen is coming, so it's the moment to say again thank you and enjoy the rest of the journey.
Thank you all.